Welcome, everybody. Turn the microphone on. Welcome, everybody. We had a workshop at the earlier part of our meeting, and then we went into closed session. At closed session, the board took no action. We did talk about matters pertaining to students and matters pertaining to employees. And now we're back in open session, and one of my favorite parts of the board meeting is introducing some students to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd like to introduce, and I apologize if I get your name wrong, Thiessen Fan, Lachlan Botrell, Nathan Blanco, Rihanna Norman, and Daryl Norman. So would you all please come up and then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I don't think we have a patriotic song. Do we have a patriotic song tonight? No, not tonight. All right. Okay, now on to what I was really looking forward to, and that's the board president's report. And we're going to turn on the little clicker and see if we can get this thing rolling. All right. So in our district, as many of you, most of you I hope know, we have two military bases, the Joint Task Force Base and the Naval Weapons Station Base. And along with it comes a whole bunch of military families. And sometimes we forget that it's not just the person who is serving that is sacrificing, but it's also the families of those that are serving, and in particular the kids. It's pretty common for military members that they're constantly moving, so it's not unusual that we get military families that move in and move out of our district. About a week or so ago was Week of the Military Child, and I'm going to show you a few pictures of some of those celebrations that occurred. I just love the look of a soldier dressed up in uniform and watching them interact with the kids. To me, that often brings tears to my eyes. Month of the Military Child. I'm one of those emotional types. I cry really easy at shows and sometimes even commercials, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And I saw this video, and I had to share it with you. So anybody have any Kleenex I can borrow?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Let's see.
Right here.
Let's see. Let's see if it works. Oh.
Nope. Here we go.
This is a mom's surprising note. It's written. I love that. See, come on, who's crying here? I know when my wife is away for a long weekend, that's kind of how I react when she comes home. This was, right, so moving on now. Academic Awards of Excellence. This was a wonderful event that occurred, I think, a week ago, where we really celebrated success in academics of our students at the PAC at the high school. Aww. It's amazing how many 4.0 students that we have. And then I had the privilege of attending in this boardroom, which was super cool, the Military Service Academy Night. I'd never been to that before, and it's really awesome. So every military academy, and I can't remember all of them, but West Point and even the Coast Guard Academy and the Air Force Academy and the Navy Academy, et cetera, we're all here. This is Alan Lowenthal, our representative, Congressman Lowenthal. This is his event, and we host it for him here. And one of the things was cool, and I took this picture, is seeing here the U.S. House of Representatives seal in our boardroom. And I thought that was just super cool, just the whole historic nature of it. And the room was pretty much filled with kids that represent his district. I think he's the 47th Congressional District, I forget. And so he has quite a swath of territory, including Los Al and Cypress and Seal Beach and Rossmore and Long Beach, and I forget all the territory that he represents. And each service branch presented their perspective and told us a little bit about their academy, opportunities for kids and what's required to get into the academy. What I didn't know is they all have like I forget what it's called, but it's almost like if you don't get into the academy, they have like a prep school academy. And if you go to the prep school, although it adds an extra year onto your experience, it significantly increases the chance that you can actually get into the academy. All right, anyways, enough of that. So thanks for bearing with my tears. And now on to superintendent's report.
No, student report.
Student report. Yeah, isn't that what I said?
No, sure, yes, I heard it incorrectly.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, cabinet members, Dr. Kropp, and community. My name is Justin Davidson, and I'm excited to be reporting tonight. First off, I want to do a little senior spotlight. This year, the OCU registered Artist of the Year for Instrumental Music is James Day, and at Los Al, he's the section leader for the Los Al Wind Symphony. And in the room tonight, we have OC Girls Water Polo Player of the Year, Bailey Weber, who this year had scored a total of 125 goals. So let's give a round of applause for Bailey. Quite an accomplishment for them both, and we're both very proud of them at Los Al. Next, we have the annual Griffin Games, and this year there was a Grand Prix theme. We had week-long activities at lunch and social media campaigns so that each team, the red and the blue, could collect a whole bunch of points. And so at the assembly, we had inflatables, music, and a performance by song and cheer. And this year I was on the red team, and I am sad to report that we did not win this year. So there's that. Next, we have the Arts Spotlight. So Drama had their Hello Dolly show, which they ran a total of 4 different shows. And if you can see in the photo, they had this nice set, and surprisingly enough, that set was built by the students, and so we're very, very proud of them for all the hard work they've done. And our advanced show choir, Sound Effects, had their first undefeated season ever, so, you know, everything's working out well, Los Al. Next, we had proms, and the theme this year was Night with the Stars, so Grammy theme, and was held at Santa Anita Racetrack, and this year we had more than 900 students attend. And one thing that doesn't really get mentioned a lot, because even I as a student was not aware of, but Los Al has an electronic game, a sports team at Los Al. And so this year, which is, if I'm not mistaken, is one of their first or second years in the program, they made it all the way to round 8. So for the first or second year, that's pretty amazing. And one thing that's really cool is this organization is growing. So while we didn't win the whole thing, which is what Los Al usually does, it's a great learning opportunity for students that are interested, and the fact that the word is getting out about this organization is really great because other students can now realize and join the team and make a whole bunch of new friends and a lot of great memories playing the game, in which they play League of Legends, which I'm not familiar with, but we're very proud of the team at Los Al, so go for them. So that's it tonight. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Justin. Next up is Los Al High School student recognition, and I will turn it over to Dr. Kropp to introduce that for us.
Superintendent's report. Superintendent's report.
Oh, sorry. We're going to do every other one tonight.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
So, esteemed members of the board, Mr. President of the board, and everyone here, a couple things I'll talk about tonight. It is my pleasure to share. We had 3 of our elementary schools receive the California Distinguished School Award, and as you know, we're on cycles, so not everyone was even eligible to receive it. But hats off to Lee Elementary, Rossmore Elementary, and Weaver Elementary. And that's a picture from the awards dinner last week. Let's give a round of applause for those 3 schools. And then we're going to be calling them up in just a little bit, but we had the pleasure of joining our own board member, Karen Russell, as part of our GASELPA Community Advisory Committee did receive awards. And that's sort of a lead-in, because we'll get to that in a second, to really how one of the things I love best about our culture is that we're here to serve all students. And so regardless of, sometimes we're known only for certain groups, when in truth our vision is really all children. And so we do have an Autism Awareness Week. As you know, that's a growing group in our country, and something we're all trying to find the best ways to educate them so that they do the best they can. And that Autism Week, I heard nothing but it. In fact, there's Mr. Willems and Mr. Larson. I heard it was spectacular, and your teachers did a great job. And thank you very much for doing that. We also have an event called Come Walk in My Shoes, where students, and these pictures I believe are from McGaw, and where students, they do these different exercises that replicate some of the disabilities that some of our students do have. And it really helps them learn compassion and understanding for people that may have different struggles. And then we have Griff Friends coming up, and that's on June 1st at 12:30 at the high school, and everyone's invited. And if you would like to volunteer, contact the high school. Dr. Martinez, who would they contact? So Kiva Speratos, if you'd like to volunteer. But this is really an amazing event. It's where students with unique abilities or disability are invited. We get them up to the high school, and they're paired with a football player for a game of softball. And so the kids love it, and we receive some of the kindest, warmest emails. And so our football coach, Fenton, did bring that, and it's really taken off. And this will be our 3rd Griff Friends this year. So love that. And that's it tonight. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So we won't skip the next item. And we'll go into the Los Al High School student recognition. Dr. Kropp.
Thank you very much. It is really our pleasure. One of the highlights that we get to do is honor students, and we try to do this tonight. We have some really special honorees that we want to recognize, but I'm actually going to call up to talk about them the principal, Dr. Martinez. Come on up.
Thank you. I'm super excited to share some information about 7 of our stellar students that have achieved some greatness kind of in 3 different areas. And I'd like to start with 4 of our current students who have earned what is the highest award in the Girl Scouts called the Gold Award. So I want to read a little bit about this background. The Girl Scout Gold Award is the highest award in Girl Scouts. Open only to girls in high school, the Girl Scout Gold Award is the most prestigious award in the world for girls and the most difficult to earn, and it's only available to Girl Scouts. And there are 7 steps that these students must achieve in order to earn the Gold Award. They have to identify an issue, they have to investigate it thoroughly, get help and build a team, create a plan, present their plan and gather feedback, take action, and then educate and inspire. So what I'd like to do is I will call each of these students up, and they will share briefly what their project was. I believe all of them were centered around our specific community, and then they will also share what was most impactful about doing this. So it gives me great pleasure to call up our first Gold Award winner, Rosalind Lyell. Come on up, please.
Hi, I'm Rosalind Lyle, and I earned my Girl Scout Gold Award. I helped educate our community about the dangers of texting and driving. I made a video portraying a student who died due to a texting and driving accident, and I also made a pre and post survey to help measure the change of the video and to see that people learned from my video. And I also created bumper stickers to have around campus and around school.
And Russell, what was the most impactful thing about the experience for you?
The most impactful thing, I think, at the end, it was just like realizing that I impacted people, that I made a change in someone's life, whether it be one person or 300.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And do you have any special guests with you this evening?
Yes, I have 3 other Girl Scouts with me. Annette also earned her Gold Award. No. Yeah, okay.
Rosalind put her video on YouTube, and we were able to share that through our Monday morning memo as well as through school messenger. So the audience it reached was in the thousands and was super powerful. Our next honoree is Paige Thompson. Paige, come on down. And Paige, just so you don't forget, I'll have you share your project, what was most impactful, and then if you would introduce any special guests you've brought with you.
Hello, I'm Paige Thompson, and I also earned my Gold Award. So there is a need in our special needs community where students go on life skill building field trips, and some of them don't have the funds to really fully experience things. Like when they go to Wendy's, they can't buy a full meal, or they only have the money to pay for a drink or something. So I helped create a business in our special needs department at our school with the help of Kiva Speratos and Karen Moffitt, who is a teacher at our school. And so the students handmade birthday leis and sold them to their fellow students at the school. And they helped, they created accounting books and kept those, and they hand-delivered them to students during school. And I think the most impactful part of this project was seeing them really gain the confidence in doing something independent. And yeah.
Any special guests tonight?
My parents? Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, when Paige brought this idea to us, we're like, go for it. And what's been amazing is that we've been able to see the leis the students have made, and I think they've had so much fun just doing that. I think they kind of forgot why they were doing it, and I think that will definitely be a legacy for that department for years to come. So thank you, Paige. Next up, we have Annette Wisachuk.
Hi, my name's Annette Wisachek. I did my Gold Award project called Reading Rascals. It targeted childhood literacy, so it helped children in the Rascals After School Care Program run by the Youth Center at Rossmore Park. I created a reading incentive program that included a mobile bookshelf and a book collection, so so children would have books to read and practice with. And I also created a reading incentive program with prizes based on hours read, and they set aside a time each day dedicated to reading. And then along with that, there was a buddy system program where an older child was paired with a younger child so they could read to each other and practice reading fluency and comprehension.
What was most impactful for you?
The most impactful thing for me is one day when I was visiting their children, I was delivering a couple last supplies. They came out with a poster and surprised me, and it was just so great seeing the smiles on their faces. It made me so happy, and to be able to see the impact I had on them.
And do you have any special guests tonight?
Yeah, my dad's here with me.
Okay. Awesome work. And then our fourth honoree is Alexis Lexi Lieben. Come on down, Lexi.
Hi, my name is Lexi, and I'm actually still in progress. I'm working on my Gold Award project right now. But the purpose of my project is to raise awareness about the dangers of prescription drug abuse in our community. And just my purpose became evident when I was doing some research on what I wanted to focus on. I did some research on prescription drug abuse because I know in my family we've had some, I have some loved ones that have had some issues with this issue, and so it just became really personal to me. So I did some intensive research, and what really shocked me was the statistics and just the facts of the horrible, just what's come across from this issue. So I based my project around an informative mission to try to get information to as many people as I can. So the first step in my project was making these pamphlets. So it's filled with a bunch of information about just the horrors of prescription drug abuse and how far it's actually impacted. And so recently I went to a drug take-back event at McAuliffe Middle School, and I passed out flyers to about 60 to 75 different cars, and they collected the unused prescription drug bottles from these different people who drove by, and it was really impactful because I got to meet some really important people that were interested in my cause, and I had someone from the, she was in charge of Orange County's drug administration, and then I get to work with a police officer, and it was just really, really awesome.
Any special guests tonight?
Yes, I brought my dad. Yeah.
Yeah, Lexi will be fully completed in early August, but we did not want to wait till the fall, and I thought it was so fitting that 4 of our stellar young women have done this. And what should be noted is that they are not just students at Los Al. They all embrace the 4As. They're all taking rigorous coursework. They're all involved in lots of extracurricular activities. 3 of these young ladies are juniors, so they'll be back carrying on the mission. And Lexi pointed out the drug take-back. That was actually part of our district initiative. I believe it's the 3rd one we've done, and so it's fantastic that she was able to reach such a wide audience. Our next student we're going to recognize is actually not here this evening because he's doing what he's been recognized for, and I thought it'd be fitting to talk about James Day. Justin mentioned him in his board report. Every year, Orange County, sponsored by the Register, recognizes the Artist of the Year, and it's open to any high school student in our county, and it covers about 10 different genres within the arts, from visual to performing, music and whatnot. James was up against a very deep and competitive pool. He plays saxophone, and James covers both the jazz and symphonic side, and if you get a chance to read up the article, the judges were unanimous in terms of how he was stellar across all the categories of fluidity of his playing, the emotion. And so tonight he's actually at a rehearsal for a big band gig. And so if we could give a clap for James, I'm sure he will hear us. And then I would like our next honoree, and again, Justin referenced her, Bailey Weber. Bailey, if you'd come up and join me, I'd like to say a few things about you on the way up. So to understand how competitive water polo is just in the state of California, you can just look at the collegiate level. Every year, the NCAA champion for both men and women come from California. If you look at the history books, it's like the last 20 years, they come from California. And so the hotbed for water polo players is in Orange County. So to be named the Orange County High School Player of the Year is no small feat. And what I've most enjoyed about Bailey at our school is just her leadership, how she is a leader among her teammates, how she's very humble. If you look at all the accolades she's achieved, she's competed on the United States women's team this year. She is receiving a full ride scholarship to the University of Southern California. Fight on. She was named the Sunset League Player of the Year, and she made CIF Division I All-Team, and I can just keep going on and on and on. But to be named the Orange County Player of the Year is a stellar, stellar thing. So, Bailey, on behalf of the school administration, congratulations. I'm asking Bailey to share what's been the best part about the season this year, if she wouldn't mind.
My favorite part of the season this year, I think, was seeing our team come together. Since we had a majority of our upperclassmen, we only had 10 people on varsity this year. Normally there's 16 people on a team, so we only had 3 subs going into every game. I think seeing how we had to come together, all different levels, some people just starting. We had 1 freshman on varsity. We had 3 seniors, and I think just knowing how to work well. We all have different styles of play. We haven't played with each other very much. We don't play club together. I think just having to learn our tendencies and where we want the ball, the next pass, and having to do that in such a short amount of time, and making it, being the runner-up in Division II state finals, I think that was a big accomplishment for us. It was just fun. We all got along, and we were always there for each other and had our backs.
Awesome.
Yeah, I brought my mom and my dad.
And our last student we'd like to recognize is Alec Vita. But Alec, are you here? I don't think so, but you will see Alec virtually in a moment. So the reason we're recognizing Alec Vita is in most schools, as you progress from elementary to high school, the number of people involved in PTSA actually decreases. It's just kind of a strange phenomenon. But in our district, it's the opposite. It actually grows. We're close to 2,000 members at the high school level, and that's fantastic in terms of the number of parents and the number of projects and support we receive from them. It's also not uncommon to have a student serve as a PTSA representative. But what is extremely rare is to have that student be a state-level representative. And so we're recognizing Alec tonight, and to my knowledge, I think this is accurate. He is the first student in LoSal Unified's history to serve in that capacity. And a couple highlights. Alec did not take this job to be a resume builder for his college applications. He is probably the most serious student I've seen in terms of this work. He is a strong advocate, so every time he went up to the state in Sacramento, to the legislatures, he definitely advocated for the needs of our students, of our staff, of our families. And every time we had our monthly PTSA meeting and he gave his student report, he didn't just say a couple sentences. He actually, without even having to look at his notes, knew the issues, knew the things that he needed to convey, and I think is one of the reasons that he's gone into the colleges that he's gotten into. And we're going to miss him because he's graduating, but I think he has certainly set the bar high and has certainly opened the door for other students to maybe pursue that. So I believe we have a video clip. Is that right, or am I a little ahead of that? We're good? Okay, so take a look at this clip.
It's an edited version, so it's short, but here you go at the state PTA convention.
Every single person here has accomplished something great. Just by coming to convention, you have made a statement on behalf of the California State PTA. You have sent a message that children and students matter. You are giving a voice to students who haven't yet found theirs. The unit leaders are the ones who meet with principals and teachers and advocate directly on our campus. Without our unit members and leaders, the PTA would truly not be the same. It requires a special kind of person to be able to be involved with the PTA. I can guarantee every single person in this room is caring, intelligent, determined, and most of all, you have that kind of mama bear instinct with every single kid, treating them as if they were your own, which is perhaps one of the most important. I think back to my experience in the PTA, both in the unit and state level, and I've learned a few things. First and foremost, never cross a PTA parent. Just don't do it, it won't end well for you. In all truth, it is this, shall we call it, assertiveness and determination that makes the PTA what it truly is.
So what's great about that is, Alex, let's give it up for him. That's an audience of about 3,000 people, and the other thing that I would like to recognize, and Dr. Barkey mentioned this earlier, at our PTSA Awards of Excellence, the PTA honored Alec with an honorary service award. And lastly, if you're wondering how is he so poised in front of that kind of audience, just like the other students I've talked about, besides doing great coursework, he's actually part of our show choir, so he's been in front of audiences singing. So, stellar job. So thank you so much, and thank you for this opportunity to recognize 7 of our fantastic students.
Next is a recognition of our Global Culture Education Foundation, and I'll turn that back over to you, Dr. Kropp.
Thank you, esteemed members of the board, and it is my distinct pleasure to call LAE teacher Jennifer Petrell. She is going to lead this presentation to the podium. Thank you, Jennifer.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, board president and distinguished board members. Good evening, Dr. Kropp, superintendent, and cabinet members. And good evening, staff and community. Thanks for being here tonight. So my name is Jennifer Bottrell. I am a 4th grade teacher at Los Alamitos Elementary. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm here tonight to share with you the amazing experience I was able to be a part of with the Global Cultural Foundation, Education Foundation. Over this past spring break, I was fortunate to travel with Jennifer Hewitt, Sean's son, and 17 other Los Al family members on a trip to China to experience history, culture, and to build relationships with local schools. So my biggest dilemma tonight in preparing was in deciding from which perspective I would share my thoughts. So I decided to share all 3 of them. My first perspective is from the viewpoint of a traveler. It's undeniable, I think we can all agree, how the experience of traveling can help satisfy a sense of adventure, help a person grow personally, help develop new friendships with the people you travel with, help foster a greater understanding of other cultures, and help a person be mindful of the many differences that exist in our world. So our travels to Beijing, the Forbidden City, the Great Wall of China, seen here, and the terracotta warriors most certainly satisfied all of these areas. I've had the good fortune to travel to many countries, but this was my first experience in Asia, and it was filled with amazing people, food, travel companions, and new experiences. My second perspective is from the viewpoint of a teacher. Whenever I travel, I'm always thinking about what insights I can bring back to my classroom. I'm thankful to have many stories to share that help with writers, workshop, help make connections in reading based on book settings. But the best stories, however, are those that deal with the general routines of the school. I can safely say that my students did not appreciate the story where I shared that the Chinese schools we visited have an average of 4 to 5 hours of homework per night, on top of a longer school day, and included Saturday schools. This was one aspect that they voted to keep different. We were welcomed into 3 schools on our visit. At our first foreign language primary school stop, we were greeted by ambassador students eager to try out their English with us. We were led to the stage with an audience of 2,000 cheering students. That's that top left picture there. They sang to us, escorted us to classrooms with a level of excitement that made us feel like celebrities. We then visited their sister school, a foreign language middle school, where we experienced the same level of excitement and were able to spend 45 minutes in classrooms observing students and teaching methods. Some of our students visited art classes, music classes, and English language classes. We were then treated to lunch and exchanged contact information with our hosts before leaving for the day. Our third school was a new primary school, the Chengdu Mochi Academy. And here, students were treated to musical recitals using traditional Chinese instruments and an art class where everyone was encouraged to paint using traditional Chinese brush techniques. It was here that we were able to see very modern classrooms with amazing technology like the music room, a reading room, and a beautiful broadcast room. For many, the schools were a highlight of the trip, and I, for one, will look forward to maintaining some of the friendships with the teaching staff that I was able to make. My final perspective is from the viewpoint of a parent. I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to take this trip with my 3rd grade son, Lachlan. And I believe that I feel the same way that all the parents on the trip feel. I was one of 6 families traveling with their kids. And we feel the same way, that to have the opportunity to expose our children to these types of experiences at a young age is truly invaluable. I was able to watch my son learn about the Chinese culture he was experiencing, build long-term friendships with the other students on the trip, interact with Chinese students in a school setting, have Rubik's Cube competitions on a high-speed train to Chengdu, and then, of course, watch in horror as I ate a scorpion with his best friend. And our kids can actually say that they were able to see pandas in China. I couldn't have asked for a better traveling group. It was a group that watched out for all the kids and did everything possible to make this an amazing experience. I'd like to personally thank, on behalf of all of the participants, Jennifer Hewitt and Sean, who was unable to be here this evening, for bringing this experience to us and to our Los Alamitos district, for embracing this travel opportunity for our families. I'm hopeful that Los Al continues this relationship with the Global Culture Exchange Foundation. I will encourage families in the future to consider making this trip, and I have a kindergarten son who's already waiting for his chance to go to China in a few years. Thank you for your time this evening. We did have a certificate to present to Jennifer Hewitt. If you'd come on up, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Jennifer Hewitt, is Global Cultural Education Foundation Vice President. For our foundation mission is we bring the culture to the school, to the district. Not just for the trip, we provide so many like the Chinese New Year, and we let the school kids to able to play the dragon dance, so, and we provide all the equipment and everything, so we just wanted to kids to have the global eyes, and they can see the Eastern and Western culture different. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I know a couple years ago we had a couple board members that went on a similar trip, and I don't know if you guys have any comments.
Yeah, I would like to say Karen and I were fortunate enough to go on the first trip to China that Jennifer had organized, and to this date, I still say that was the most interesting trip I have. Yeah, and Erin Kaminsky was there, and she's nodding. It was the most interesting trip I have ever been on, and I still talk about it. And it was such a phenomenal experience, and I was so glad I was able to do it, particularly because it wasn't a normal vacation, because we had everything planned, and we went into schools, and we really got to see the Chinese people. We did do the tourist things too, which I always think is important because that's part of the country you're visiting, but we really got to see the Chinese people, and we interacted with individuals. It was a phenomenal experience. And Karen, do you want to say anything? Yeah.
I just ditto everything you said, because I think you have a better understanding and look at the cultural aspects, but as well we got to go to the schools and see the different strategies they use within their schools, and we just have a wonderful relationship. I mean, the Global Cultural Foundation doesn't just do those trips. They do a lot of things in our schools. I know I went to a couple of the Chinese New Year celebrations at LAE, and they had students come from China, was at Oak. So it's a wonderful organization. And thank you, Jennifer, and all the things that your group does. They do fabulous work. Thank you.
We have a couple more recognitions to go before a recess, and just a reminder to be sure you stick around when we go into recess so we can take some pictures. And I know the kids are probably anxiously waiting for that recess, because I think there's some cookies in the back as well. So next up is Community Advisory Committee Awards, and I'll turn it over to Andrea Reed.
Good evening, President Barkey, members of the board, community. You know, you often hear, if you're around long enough and you come to these meetings, Dr. Pulver will sometimes say, people are the hallmark of our district. And I think nothing rings truer tonight as we hear about the amazing individuals and students in our district. And so it really is with great pleasure I'm inviting Dr. Olshans, who's our Director of Special Education and Mental Health, up to the podium as well, as we look to recognize 3 employees and 1 student who really are the hallmark of our community. They have been recently recognized as honorees by our Greater Anaheim SELPA with a Community Advisory Committee Award, which really embodies the value that they see in supporting individuals with unique needs and the ways they've gone above and beyond to really lift a community of special learners up and highlight them in many positive ways. And so I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Olshan for her to individually talk about the 4 individuals that we're going to recognize tonight.
Good evening, President Barkey, esteemed members of the board, Dr. Kropp, cabinet, and all the wonderful people that came here this evening. You know, a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Kropp was with me, and Grace Delp, my coordinator, and a couple of our administrators came to witness these awards, and it was the most heartwarming event. All members of the SELPA had award winners. I did not nominate these people. They were nominated from within our families and our educators and our stakeholders because of the extraordinary work that they do in supporting our students that have unique and special needs. And so without further ado, I'll call them up one at a time. We can start with David Molenkamp. I just wanted to say that Karen Russell sits on the board of the Anaheim SELPA, and so of course she was there as well. I'm sorry I omitted that. David is our administrator at the high school and choir director extraordinaire. I've worked with David for many years, and his ability to include every single student in this award-winning choir with hundreds of students, seamlessly integrating them, it is beyond belief. It is really special, and so we are very honored to present him with this award. Thank you, David. Mrs. Cara Vienna, come up, please. I've also worked with Mrs. Vienna for many, many years when she started teaching in a special education classroom at the high school and became the program specialist from the SELPA, working in the district, and now is an assistant principal over at Oak Middle School. You know, I just can't say enough about, again, her ability to include every single student, understand specific individual needs that students have, and just treat each and every student with love and compassion. It is just really, really wonderful. So thank you, Cara. Now we have Diana Summers. Hi, Diana. So Diana works as an instructional assistant in our district, and she's been doing this for a long time. And again, she is one of these people that goes above and beyond. No matter what we ask her to do, she does. She works a split shift. She works at one school. She works in our regional autism program. She's just super spectacular, loving, kind, and compassionate. So thank you, Diana. And finally, we have Miss Danielle Townsend. So I have to say that I did not know Danielle until I met her at the awards, and I thought she was one of our instructional assistants. I had no idea that she was a 5th grade student at McGaw. She is super spectacular, goes again above and beyond. It was a student who nominated her, a student that she has compassionately worked with, and his speech was so eloquent, I couldn't believe it. It was really special. And she does all of those things without anybody even asking. It comes natural. She is just there to help students, include them, make sure that they're all well taken care of. So thank you, Danielle. We really appreciate it.
You know, these recognitions remind me, I think we have, and Dr. Kropp, correct me if I'm wrong, about 1,000 employees, is that right, that work for the district?
1,600.
Okay. And recognizing spectacular employees, and that's almost everybody, is really important to us because we really look at Los Al as a big, giant family serving a common goal of educating our kids and really taking care of our community. And this is the favorite part for me of these board meetings, is recognizing excellence and saying thank you to the range of people that commit their careers and their lives to serving this community and serving the kids.
And Dr. Barkey, if I could, you were absolutely correct for full-time employees. So it's about 1,000. That's why that number. And we have about 600 part-time.
Okay, very good.
Very good.
Which brings us to the next recognition, and that's Classified Employee of the Year. And I will turn that over to Dr. Nguyen. And then stick around, because after this is cookie time.
Well, good evening, Board, Dr. Kropp, Cabinet. We're delighted tonight to recognize our Classified Employee of the Year, Brian, in our office. And I'm going to have his director to speak about him a little bit.
Good evening, esteemed members of the board, executive cabinet, and distinguished guests. I am truly honored and totally privileged to have Brian part of our fiscal services department. He truly goes above and beyond to provide the best quality products for all of our students, and above that, he truly goes above to provide the best customer service to all of our staff. Brian, you are exceptional. You are amazing. You are just totally committed to provide just an excellent customer service. I couldn't do what I do every day without your assistance. You make my life a lot easier. You have a kind heart, and you're honest and transparent. I couldn't do anything without you. So it gives me great privilege for this recognition to you. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be recognized for your hard work. I've got one distinguished guest. My wife, Donna, is in the audience. I don't have too much to say. I was thinking about this on the way up, and I know there's a lot of people in this room that can make it happen. I thought how good it would sound for a back-to-back Employee of the Year. Anyways, thanks very much. Let's get to the cookies so everyone can take their breaks. Thanks.
I think I'm not sure if you've seen this yet, but this is your special plaque for Employee of the Year. I know you've gotten so many awards. We've recognized you like 5 times already, right, at this point. But Brian is exceptional. He is funny to work with, and he really helped us in the whole entire financial services. He's just amazing, and so thank you so much. And we couldn't do it without you, so thank you. And you get to keep this, I think, get to take it home finally.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you.
So we'll take a few-minute recess. Please stick around for pictures, and then we can go have some cookies too.
Yeah, it's warm in here. And
All right, welcome back. Now, next up, we have community and staff participation. If you haven't given me one of these guys, please do, and you're welcome to address us. I have 2 right now. The first is Sean Bigley, I think.
Hello.
Hello.
So 15 years ago, I was the student member on this board.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I recognize that. Yeah.
I see
Welcome
one
back.
familiar face, but a lot of new ones. I clearly dressed up for you tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's been one of those days. I apologize, but I am here under not the best of circumstances, unfortunately. As you all are probably aware, there is a project underway to apparently create a new parking lot at Lee Elementary School. I happen to live right across the street from where that parking lot is going to be put in, and we just bought our house a year ago, having no idea that that project was in the works. As I'm sure you can imagine, that has led to a little bit of consternation in my household. I can imagine that most of you would be in the same boat, having a parking lot put in right across the street from your house. I also happen to have 2 kids at Lee, and I just think all around, not only is it unnecessary, but it's really going to create an aesthetic issue for those of us in the neighborhood. It's going to create problems with people loitering and noise and all sorts of other issues that are completely preventable. If I'm being completely candid, I also am really just disappointed in the way that this has come about. My understanding is that this is the second time in 3 years that this has been attempted. The first time it was shot down 3 years ago. And the only reason that I'm here and that I know about this is because somebody forwarded me a board agenda from a prior meeting in which this was apparently discussed. And it would have been really nice, and I think a good gesture of good faith, had the board or the district notified those of us who would be impacted, whose properties would be impacted by this issue. It feels like, again, to be completely candid with you, we are the first to hear about it when the district wants money or when there's other issues that arise, but anytime something like this happens, we're the last to know. And so, it would be nice in the future if there was a little bit more communication, a little bit more transparency on these type of issues. But bottom line, in this particular case, I really don't think that this is a necessary expenditure. I don't think it's going to be helpful to the neighborhood. I don't think it's going to be helpful to those students who happen to be attending the school and who are using that playground that's going to be demolished and moved, including my 2 children who love it. If the issue is that the playground needs to be updated, then that's certainly one thing. If the issue is that the parking lot needs to be updated, that's certainly one thing. But again, I think there's a way to do this that doesn't require what is in the works at the moment. So there are a lot of people here tonight from our street and our neighborhood who feel the same way as I do. I'm going to read real quickly a letter from another neighbor who couldn't be here. And this is from Nola Ezel and Robert Ezel. Due to medical reasons, my husband and I are unable to attend tonight. We do wish to register our opposition to the proposed paving of the kindergarten play area of Lee School. This is another attempt to put a Band-Aid on the traffic and congestion issues that is the result of both open enrollment and the importing of students from other districts. We do not need to lose green space due to the policies of school district leaders. So thank you all for taking the time to listen, and I will now yield to my neighbors.
Thank you, Sean. You're all grown up. Welcome back. And this is an agendized item, and it's coming up next on our consent agenda. And so we can speak to this. And the good news is this board is very responsive to the community. The agendized item, by the way, is not a vote to build a parking lot. It's a vote to do a geological survey to see if even that's a possibility. So the decision to move forward and to build or not to build has not been made. And your concern, and I've spoken to several folks that are also concerned, is really important. The last thing we want to do is to do something that the neighbors in the community don't want. As you may know, maybe you don't, I'm a Rossmore resident as well, so I'm very keen to the concerns of my Rossmore neighbors and certainly the schools in Rossmore as well. So we're gonna talk specifically as a board, and if anybody else wants to make any comments about the agendized item, but be clear, what we're doing tonight is not authorizing the building of a parking lot. And I agree with you that this will be reviewed further and discussed further to be sure whatever decision we're making is in alignment with the needs of the school and the desires of the community. Does any other board member want to comment, or Dr. Kropp?
should we wait until we're actually discussing that item?
Yeah, we can. And there's one more public comment on it, and then we can move on to the actual agenda item. Todd, do you want to come back up and say a few words? If you bring the card up, you're welcome to speak, but we need a card for you to speak. And as a former student rep to the board, we give you the courtesy of going beyond the 3 minutes, but the other folks, not so much. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'll speak quickly. Thank you all again for the opportunity to speak a little bit more about this. As I said earlier this evening, I feel this is really an issue about the parking and the street sweeping, and I would love to work with Dr. Kopp and others in the community to see if we can really have a long-term fix of what the real concern is. And so my request that you consider in the context of the agended item, if it's possible to defer any decisions that are going to cost the board or the district money until we can make some progress, I'd ask that you consider that. And perhaps there's a way to separate this out so you could defer any spending that's related to the parking lot. As you've heard from my neighbors and others, there's a lot of concern in the neighborhood about the impact on the street parking. It is right in front of the kindergarten, so that's the pickup and drop off. If we have to open up an entrance to the parking lot, that's going to take away from the very limited street parking that's now available for pickup and drop off. It also means we're going to have more traffic, obviously trying to find a space in there. That intersection of Silverwood and Foster is quite a busy and dangerous one now, and I wouldn't want to make that any worse. So the pros, if we could defer this decision to try to preserve some green space, if we can move the playground and have a tree or something, that would be wonderful. We hope we can save the district money and come up with a fix that would really benefit all of Rossmore with a more thoughtful and sane approach to street sweeping and parking versus the cons of losing street parking, making the pickup and drop off more chaotic, and having this had in front of the kindergarten, which is one of the hardest places for people visiting, and complicating what's already a dangerous intersection. So please consider deferring this and give us a chance to address the real problem.
Great. Thank you, Todd. Denise Miller.
Hello. It's
Hello.
wonderful to see so many of these faces I've known for so long. Thank you for allowing us to speak. I don't live on Silverwood, so my issue is a little bit different. My issue is about the obesity rate of children. Today, they tell us that this generation is the first generation in America to have a shorter lifespan than their parents, in large part because of obesity. I love seeing that green space. I don't see it from my home, but I love seeing the kids. They are out running on it almost every day when I walk my dog, and that makes me enormously happy, especially at that young age when I think so many of them have the wiggles. We've taken out a lot of space from Lee over the years for trailers. We've done that at all sites, and all schools have done that. I think every place that I've ever visited, but I sure would hate to see any more taken out. And then I would simply ask you, what can we do? I'm a Rossmore resident. I can speak to the RCSD. I can speak to the RHA. Tell us what your concerns are. I've heard perhaps that it was volunteers getting tickets when they come to work in the schools, not the teachers so much. Perhaps we can work on something with the RCSD to have the street sweepers start around the 3 schools in Rossmore first. So those are swept by 7:10 or something in the morning. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. This was news to me. Again, I thought we had resolved it a couple of years ago as well. But if there's something we can do, ask us. And as residents of Rossmore, we'd be happy to help you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Denise. So now we'll move on to our consent agenda. The consent agenda is generally items that are considered routine in nature, so they're taken as a whole. And I'd like to pull consent item I out of the agenda. So I'll move that we pull consent item I out of the agenda, out of the full consent agenda. I need a second for that.
You don't need to have a motion to do it. Just you can pull. Anybody can pull.
Okay.
Anybody can pull.
Then it's
But
been,
I can move approval of consent items 10
Oh,
through
wait,
H.
I have one to pull, please.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so
I'd like to
sorry.
pull A.
A?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, then I will go back and request approval of consent items B through H and J through T.
Perfect. I'll second that. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Then we'll move on to consent item A, and I'll move approval of consent item A.
I'll second.
Karen?
I will abstain because I was not at that meeting.
But you wanted,
Just take the vote and I'll
Oh.
abstain.
got it, okay. All in favor of consent item A, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
Motion carries 4-0 with one abstention. Okay, now on to consent item I, and I will move approval of that, and I'm going to read consent item I, and it's approval of contract with TGR Geotechnical, Inc. for geotechnical observation, special inspection, and materials testing required by DSA, that's the Division of State Architecture, for the new parking lot at Lee Elementary School. So let's discuss.
I'll
that-
second it so we can
thank you.
discuss it.
Thank you. So now we can discuss it. So my understanding is this is necessary before we can do any construction, because that's just the way the DSA rolls, is that you have to do the evaluation before you can do any construction. Approving this does not mean we're going to go and build a parking lot. Approving this just simply means that they're going to go evaluate the land, similar to what they're doing with the replacement at the at Lee for the playground. And so basically they're doing both areas of Lee, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to evaluate the playground and the area that we're considering the parking lot, but this isn't a decision to go and build a parking lot.
No. So if I could,
Please.
President. So great question, and it's a great discussion. And I know we did get that comment earlier. And so if I could, after this, I'd like to address moving forward with the street sweeper, because I do have some information about that too. So the plan that was proposed 3 years ago involved taking green space, and the board ultimately rejected that idea. It was never we never had a contract to actually do it. We were just looking at the plans, and the board decided no. So since then, it's an ongoing issue for our employees and our volunteers. So our employees have been parking in Rossmore, and then on street sweeping days. It's not every time, it's random. But more and more employees are sending us very irate emails because they're getting ticketed, and not a ton, maybe only one, but it's always a hit or miss, and it makes them nervous. And then most recently, we have quite a few volunteers that have gotten tickets, and they are not happy. So we were back to the drawing board, but let me back up. The idea didn't initiate to get the parking. As you know, we're slowly replacing our playgrounds that are becoming, over time, their equipment's breaking down, and you know all of that. So the next one, there's a playground over at Lee off Silverwood, and so that playground, we don't like kids to use it during school because it's hard to supervise that area down on that end. So we are building a new playground. We have to do this study to see if where we want to build it down further, it can be built. It's just a requirement of DSA. So at the same time, we don't want to use this anymore as a playground, the one that's existing there now, but we want to do the test at that same time to see if it can be a parking lot. And maybe it can and maybe it can't. But we're doing that test anyway because we have to we want to get a playground. So then once the new playground is built, we have something to do with the old playground because we don't want to keep it as a playground. So the board has multiple options, which may or may not be parking. We would like to see 10 parking spots, and looked at some samples that didn't cost us any money at how we could landscape the front. So aesthetically, it looked good. It's a dilemma for us because we feel a responsibility for parking, people in the parking, the bike lanes. But now if I could speak personally, I would love to not have the issue of not enough parking and neighbors not wanting any more parking. So I think, one of the issues, Dr. Barkey, you and I met with some representatives. We've been trying off and on for a couple years to work about street sweeping, and so I'm game. And I know, Todd, you're there. I'm more than willing to meet again. You know, in the meantime, if I would urge the board to go forward to get this study with no contract to do the parking and agree to delay any project. And I'm game to try to find another alternative if the board, it'd be great.
So my understanding as far as cost goes, that there's really not an added cost to do this survey because we kind of have to do it anyways of the old playground to figure out what can we do with that anyways, because we're not going to leave the old playground just sitting there vacant. So we're going to have to do something with that, and there's a lot of different options. So it would seem to make sense that since we're going to do the survey anyways for the new playground, it's incrementally insignificant to add to do the old playground, and then the decision what to do with that piece of property, if you will, build, don't build, street sweeper, etc., or we'll hire Denise while she's walking her dog to do a little sweeping or something like that.
Problem solved.
But I think the important part that I heard clearly from Todd and, is it Sean? Sean, is that involve the community before any decision is made. Involve the school, involve the community, and let's problem solve with really smart people that live around in the area. Maybe there's an option that we haven't even thought about yet before we make any decision as to what to do there. So what I would like to recommend is that we pass the evaluation of the area, but that we ask staff to communicate with the community and to brainstorm about the issues that we heard today: build, don't build, sweep, don't sweep, parking, et cetera, to make sure that whatever decision we make is in sync with what the community wants and what the school needs.
So just for everyone, a reminder, I know you know, they may not know. So we have discussed this. That's why no final decision had been made. But as you read that item, I can see how it reads a little different than its intent. So I know Dr. Pulver has been working with John and Clavia on a flyer. It just has not been distributed yet. And the flyer is about done. And it explains this exact thing, and we'll be hand delivering that. And that says for issues, and we can gather people together. But, we just need them not to clean all the streets on the same Monday at the same time, and people can park.
Exactly.
Because it's not a problem the other days.
Yeah.
Please.
And Dr. Kropp, I just think for sometimes it gets lost, but I know people see these, and Sean, your mom would beat me up if she knew about this, if I didn't respond to this, but we've had these plans for a while, and we've had workshops on this. We've talked about the need to redo all of our playgrounds at all of our sites. So Lee has just kind of come up to do it. And so when we're doing this for cost-cutting measures, Dr. Neen, you were telling me we're passing three contracts with this same TGR, and we get a discount by doing the work all at one time, as opposed to maybe shelving it and trying to come back and do it. We still need to do something with that piece of property at some point in time, whether it's a parking lot or whatever. So I think you told me what was the cost to do that survey?
It's been $4,000.
Like $3,000 or $4,000. Where if we, for all of them, and if we hold off on it and go back and try to do it, they'll probably want to charge us $4,000 just do the one little for the other section. So I want to be financially responsible too, but we know we need to do something with that. And so if you go back historically, and we could probably find we had our architect talk to us about different playgrounds at different sites, different options, different things. And then this thought came up as maybe we could do something with that space to get 10 cars off the bike lane in there. So that's kind of where that whole discussion came. Nothing's been made in stone, so we're sorry. Sometimes we try to communicate out, and we have these workshops, and I don't mean to alarm people when they see things like this, but it is alarming. When I read it, I thought, that doesn't sound quite right. It sounds like we're going to start breaking ground and doing it tomorrow. So, but I think I know Dr. Barkey and I know Dr. Kropp have been working with RCSD on the street sweeping issue. And if you can get the county to move faster, we would love you to help us, and we'll help you any way we can. So,
yeah.
So.
I look at this as a board member, and the big overview picture is that it is a student safety issue. If we have a playground that probably isn't in the best of repair, that's not good. but to have a playground that is challenging for the teachers to be able to observe during recess, before, after school, and lunchtime, that's a real concern to me, because safety is so important for all of our kids. So we want them to have fun, run around, not be obese, and all that kind of good stuff, but in a safe manner where we can be there if something should ever occur. So the relocation makes sense. And then also, as a board member, I want to make sure our employees can get to work and not get tickets, whether it's a parking lot or a change in street sweeping or however that solution is taken care of. I'm good with it, but I just hate to be inconveniencing people that we employ to teach our young people, and then they have to worry every other Monday if they're going to get a $35 or $45 ticket. I live in Seal Beach, and I've gotten street sweeping tickets, and it just like ruins your week because it's like throwing money away. So I think we're coming to a good decision, a good conclusion here, that we're going to get together and we're going to try and solve the issue. It isn't mandatory to have a parking lot at any specific place. What we need to do is figure out what we can do so that our teachers can park their cars and get to work, and then later that same day go home. So I think we're on a good path.
Any of the board members want to make a comment?
I do.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so I just want to also say thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for being aware enough citizens to keep your eye on the agenda, to see things that may come up, or to have somebody that is your bird dog that looks for those things. Because what we look at sometimes as being something very routine, as Dr. Barkey said, this is in our consent agenda, is not to you. And that's important to us, and important for us to know that and to hear that. And I happened to be president the last time we were looking at this. And when we were starting to look at this, I realized that to us, I think it was more of a realignment. Like you said, it wasn't taking away green space, it was realigning. We were moving things around, I guess is the way that we looked at it. And so I really do appreciate you all being here and having your voices heard and being aware of that and bringing that to our attention. So thank you very much.
Todd, did you have a comment?
I just want to point out, I don't think anybody in the room has voiced any objection to modernizing the playground.
Sure.
The only concern is what we do with the space.
Yeah. No,
Yes, absolutely.
We're with you.
Yes.
And the modernizing of the playground and moving of the playground is what prompted us to wonder what we should do in place of that.
And we had that space.
And by the way, Sean, you read a comment from somebody who couldn't be here, and you used the word open enrollment. We don't have open enrollment in this district. So we've worked really hard, and specifically with RCSD and even the Rossmore Homeowners Association over the last, I can't remember, 4 or 5 years, to purposely and specifically reduce interdistrict enrollment in the Rossmore community to take it back down to historic levels where we're at now, purposely to try to reduce some of the traffic flow. Part of that traffic flow is our own faults, because now everybody and their mother has a car and wants to drive. But be that as it may, as a Rossmore resident, I'm very sensitive to that, and we're working really hard to continue that process.
And we have another reduction, Mr. President, that next year we'll be reducing by at least another class. It's been ongoing, and so we'll be down to where we were probably 15 years ago. So we're making great progress, and we'll continue that. We know that that's an ongoing goal, and I really appreciate the board's commitment to do a little every year, so it doesn't financially hurt us, but it does keep that goal straight. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, Sean, if you could start helping to populate Rossmore with young children, that would be appreciated.
I've got 2 already, so it's
Okay. That is.
If I could just real quickly add, if at all possible, I think it would be really helpful for you all to actually physically go out and take a look at the playground yourself, because
we did.
The idea that it's hard to supervise, I'm not sure where that's coming from, but one thing that our family really appreciates about the playground is its current location. It's really part of kind of like a courtyard for the kindergarten and the preschool classrooms, and so we appreciate where it is now.
Yeah. So I have, and it's been a while now, so I can't really remember, but I will certainly commit before any decision is made, I will go back.
May I also ask perhaps that you visited during the hours that we were dropping off our kids for kindergarten?
Yes,
absolutely.
multiple times.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Andrew was once a principal there, if you could speak to the playground.
There are 2 playgrounds. There's one that's within the kindergarten. That one is not the one that's being moved right now. It's the one on the opposite side of the fence, which is really used for first grade, second grade, maybe if third grade comes down. And it's just further down in the grass area. And the goal, I believe, when they talked to staff and the principal currently, was if we're going to get a new playground, let's move that playground up a little bit more, because the first graders and second graders play on the asphalt in the soccer field that's right there. And it just moves them closer to where teachers are supervising already the soccer field and the playground. So there's two right there. That's why I can see why it's confusing. And it's the other one that's going to be.
A picture of this in the brochure that you're sending away?
We don't have one now. We can adjust it.
Wait, what did?
The question was, would there be a picture?
Don't we have a schematic from Racklin that they?
Yeah, we do.
So
We had one. It wasn't very informative.
When they did a workshop, they showed us and said, "It's kind of what we're thinking. If it works, if it can work."
We don't have one to present
The
to
one
you
we
tonight,
had would
but
cause
certainly in
more
the future, before any
explanation.
decision is made, we'll certainly revisit that.
Yeah, we're not
All
that
right.
far.
So we've had a motion. We've had a second. Anybody else? Any board members have anything else to say? Then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously 5-0. And thank you to the Lee community for coming and sharing your thoughts with us. All right, so now we're on to action items. And we've got 4 action resolutions. So resolution number 1, you want me to read it, or you want to read it, Dr. Pulver?
Either.
Okay. Resolution 2017-18-32 of the Board of Education of the Los Alamitos Unified School District of Orange County, California, authorizing moving the holiday observance of Lincoln's birthday from February 11th, 2019 to February 19th, 2019, and deeming Dr. Barkey's birthday of August 26th a school holiday. No, just kidding for that part.
Well, my
Dr.
birthday is February 11th.
Dr.
so-
Pulver, any comments about my birthday being a holiday?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President and esteemed members of the board. So anytime that there are most of the federal holidays we are allowed to move other than Veterans Day. So there's 2 President's Days. We're moving one from obviously the 11th to the 19th. In our new calendar that we have, staff and students will have that entire week. So 2 of those days will be the President's Days lumped together, and then 3 district holidays.
Great. So this is a roll call vote?
You need a second?
We need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, now it's a roll call vote.
Mrs. Russell? Aye. Mr. Boya?
Aye.
Dr. Baki?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Ms. Cattouli?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Action item B, adoption of resolution 2017-1833 for specific credential authorization for 2017-18.
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second.
Okay, discussion, Dr. Pulver?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, esteemed members of the board. This is the authorization we do yearly. The Education Code specifically allows the board to authorize individual teachers to teach subjects outside of their credential area as long as they have a specific number of semester units within their degree. Also, particularly, most of it at the high school for students. Maybe you have a social studies teacher who teaches one section of PE because they're an athletic coach. And so by board authorization, this gives the authorization for that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mrs. Russell? Aye. Mr. Boya?
Aye.
Dr. Baki?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Ms. Cattouli?
Aye.
And resolution carries unanimously, 5-0. Next is approval of resolution 2017-18-34, board compensation for missed meeting, Mrs. Karen Russell. I guess I just did make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. And I'll comment on this, that from time to time we have to miss board meetings, and with all the busyness of what we do, this is a required resolution necessary for compensation for missing a board meeting. This also is a roll call.
Mrs. Russell? Aye. Mr. Boya?
Aye.
Dr. Baki?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
And Ms. Cattouli?
Aye.
And this resolution carries unanimously, 5-0. And number D, approval of resolution 2017-18-35, an order of biennial trustee election and specifications of the election order. The election of board members whose terms expires on December 7th, 2018 will be held on November 6th, 2018. Need a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I just want to say to the public that every time we have an election, we have to have a resolution like this. And we have terms, so we have elections.
Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Russell? Aye. Mr. Boya?
Aye.
Dr. Baki?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Ms. Cattouli?
Aye.
Resolution carries unanimously 5-0.
May I just say something else really quickly about this? I don't think sometimes the community also realizes or understands that to have elections, that's the cost of the district. It's a cost to the district to actually have and hold the election. So I just wanted to make sure that's what the connection is also with the resolution.
It's a cost.
Okay, next action item is declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Dr. Pulver.
Thank you, Mr. President, esteemed members of the board. This is a resolution we do yearly as well. It's really a proactive measure. Within our LCAP, we want to make sure we have highly qualified teachers. This just gives us the authorization to be able to hire somebody should we be in an emergency situation who doesn't quite have the credential they can get an emergency permit. We rarely need to use it, but it just gives us the flexibility should we within our future staffing for the upcoming school year.
Okay, I move exception of this action item.
I'll second.
And this is not a roll call, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next is approval of warrants. The warrants are the school's checkbook and the checks and the bills that are paid between board meetings. Those are presented to us a week or so out from the board meeting. We ask questions, review them, and get answers. And this is approval of all the checks that have been written between now and the previous board meeting. So I will move approval of the warrants.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next is a very important action item, and that's acceptance of the very, very generous donations from our incredible community. And as we scroll through this, we can see the various folks that have raised or donated money for the school. And then at the end of it is a year-to-date amount that has been given by our very generous community. And we'll get now a closer look at kind of year-end annual donations, because we've got only a few more board meetings to go before our year formally comes to an end. So 11,875 this round, over 400,000, almost 500,000 year to date, and thank you very much to our generous community. So I'll move approval of these donations.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next is adoption of classified and certificated personnel report. Dr. Pulver.
Thank you, Mr. President, esteemed members of the board. We just ask for your approval for the item as submitted.
Okay, I move approval of both the classified and the certificated personnel report.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously 5-0. And on to communication. And we'll
No, Dr.
Did
Barton.
I miss something?
Yes, you
Yes.
did. You mess what I get to read.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe I purposely tried to miss this.
Yeah, that's a good thing to miss.
So approval, agreement, and stipulation to a full student expulsion, waiver of hearing, et cetera, and our Vice President, Mrs. Hill, will read that.
I will make a motion to approve the agreement of stipulation, agreement and stipulation to a full student expulsion waiver and hearing and appeal rights. It is moved that agreement and stipulation to a student expulsion waiver of hearing and appeal rights for student A be approved by violation of the following Education Code 48900.4, 48900I, and 48900K. Students shall be expelled from Los Alamitos Unified School District effective April 30th, 2018 through April 29th, 2019.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously 5-0. And now on to communication. Mrs. Russell?
Well, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I have a few things to talk about. Right after the board meeting was, our SELPA several years ago started visiting all the schools that serve the students within the SELPA, and we did two schools in one day. We went to Holder and Vessels, and they both have autism programs, and it was very enlightening and very nice to have the tours of those schools. And, you know, I think especially the SELPA board needs to see
the schools that they're overseeing as a board. So that it was very valuable. And then, of course, we had the Honor the Teacher dinner that the Lions put on. And I enjoy that since I had to put it on. And then I've been able to go to the longevity presentations at McGaw and Lee and Rossmore today. And then we had all our awardees for the Community Advisory Committee. And in case nobody caught that, those are nominations that are driven by people who are on the Community Advisory Committee or people that were in our programs within the SELPA. So those people were nominated that way. And I also had the pleasure of going to the McGaw pageant again. We have to find some other award for them to get. They received the Golden Bell, I know that, but we got to think about it. If there's something any of you come up with, it's the most amazing program. Meg, how many years do you think that was? Over 30 years, right?
I want to say it's over 30.
Yeah.
And for some reason, 37 is percolating up, but
Yeah.
I kind of almost don't believe that.
Okay, so anyway.
So maybe it's 35 or 33. I don't know,
Amazing.
but it's over 30.
They reenact art things they've done over the years, and they retire a certain art piece after so many years. And they don't do all of them every year, but they keep the costumes and the backdrops and the scenery. And there is a gentleman, Mr. Cohn, who is the son of a teacher that used to teach at McGaw, that writes an original piece of music every year for the new backdrop that they do. So it's just one of the most amazing programs I've seen in our schools. I was able to go to both the Seal Beach and Los Alamitos Police and Safety Awards. And I also, last Saturday night, went to the Rossmore fundraiser, and they reminded me today I got up and danced with the flamenco dancers. And then, of course, the ACTS Award dinners last night, where Dr. Kropp was recognized as the Orange County Superintendent of the Year, was a very nice evening. And then the other day, Meg and I both went to the Seal Beach Working Group, and I brought all the maps that everybody shared about the paving that's going to go on in Seal Beach, and we talked about coordinating, and Mr. Clavia was there, and coordinating all our efforts about the things that we're going to be doing at McGaw over the summer, because it could have some conflicts. For example, Marlin's in back of the school, and they're going to be slurrying that around the same time. They're going to be tarring all the playgrounds, so they're going to try to work that out. Some of the other things, they're doing a joint land use study on the Navy base, and they wanted our input, and we're going to be invited to come to the next meeting where they're going to be discussing those particular options. And then, of course, the city is in the process of negotiating with the Navy to put their pool on that property. And it's probably going to be, if you go down Seal Beach Boulevard, across from the police station where the credit union is there.
Mhm.
And it'll be a separate section, so you won't go through the main gate. It'll be totally separate. And then we also talked about the freeway problems, the restructuring and everything, and how the signal light was out. And then, of course, they're replacing all the utilities by Leisure World to make them all underground. And I mean, I got caught in every single one of it. Every time the signal went out, I must have been going that way. But plus, we notified them that we're going to be refinishing the gym floor there. But it's such a nice meeting we always have with the city, and I just appreciate all their work with us. And then I went to the District Advisory Committee today, where they discussed the LCAP, and Andrea and Melissa, did a wonderful presentation there. And what I loved about it, they gave us the little paper there put out and asked us to give them comments about how it should be worded, if there were any grammar mistakes. And so I thought it was a really, really great meeting. So thank you for all your hard work on that. That's it.
Mr. Boyer.
Couple big things coming up. One is Mother's Day.
Yes.
So don't forget Mother's Day. You'll be in trouble. And then I think the next big event I think that we're having in our district is going to be a week from Saturday, and that's our STEAM initiative. So I don't know. I know we're going to get some emails out on that, but if you haven't had a chance to come to our high school and see all of the incredible projects students have been doing all this whole year, and they build up to this time, you need to come to the high school. And I think it starts at 10 o'clock on Saturday the 19th. And come early, get a parking place, or you'll be out in the North 40. but it's quite an event. So even if you come by for a half hour or an hour to walk around, I encourage you to do that.
Great. Mrs. Catulli.
Oh, going to me. I'm going to start off with the AXA dinner that recognized Dr. Kropp as the Orange County Superintendent of the Year. It was a very nice event, and it was great because family and friends were there, and we had three tables. We had four tables, and I just felt that it was a way we support one another and the way we celebrate everyone, because it is always all hands in. And every time I would try to congratulate Sherry about it, she would go, "I just have a great team. I just have a fabulous board." And yes, you may have a great team, and we all know we're fabulous, but you also have to have a leader who's up there and taking us all forward. So it was a very nice evening, and I really enjoyed it. I want to give a huge shout out to the Los Al swim team, who are CIF champs, and they also broke a record in the relay, so congratulations to our boys swimming team. ROP has been very busy. We had our Celebration of Success, which is our year-end program where we give monetary awards to outstanding students. And we now have, we change it a little bit every year. You know, you tweak it, always trying to make it better. And we have, we select one student from every high school to be like the Los Al Student of the Year. And I would like to congratulate Alex Hernandez, who is in the fire science program for our career technical ed classes. And he was nominated by his teacher and came for an interview. And I sat on the interview, a very accomplished young man who really, his fire science classes have really solidified with him. He always wanted to be a fireman. And the more he got into it, the more he wanted to do it. And the more he you know, it's like he has his whole plan. He's going to be a fire chief. He's got everything all planned out. And it's, as a board member, it's inspiring to see a kid who is that excited about their learning. So good way to go, Alex, and congratulations. We're also in the ROP going through our WASC accreditation. We've just started it where we're doing the fact-finding part, but we've all been through WASC accreditations before, and ROPs, career technical ed, all have to go through that. So that will be a year-long process. I went to Sacramento for a LEDGE committee meeting. Those are always very interesting because the LEDGE committee is made up from big school districts, you know, small school districts, urban, suburbans, and they do it very strategically because what we might think is really good, others wouldn't. There is one specific bill that we decided to be neutral on, was that they wanted to mandate active shooter drills, which I'm going, well, of course you have an active shooter drill, because you should. And I'm thinking how, like, we're so lucky, like in Seal Beach and Los Al, the police department works so well with us. And we decided to be neutral on it because there's some school districts in California that are so far away and are so isolated that for them to actually do that kind of a drill would be a huge financial impact on it. So, I don't know, but yeah, I said we should do it. But I thought it's very interesting to have those discussions. I was also, speaking of being safe, I went to the Seal Beach and the Los Al Public Safety Awards luncheons, and they were really nice. The Distinguished School Celebration, we were able to have dinner with our 1,400 of our closest friends, but Los Al always has a good time when it gets together. I went to the Los Al Chamber Breakfast and our Seal Beach City meeting, which were pretty much covered by Mrs. Russell.
Great. Vice President Hill.
I saw something on television that really impacted me, and I wanted to talk a little bit about. And I don't want to talk about it from a political standpoint at all, but it's something called Letter to My Younger Self. And there are a lot of celebrities out there that are writing letters to their younger self and what they would say to their younger self. And I thought it was a really incredible campaign because we find out, I think, that our students and our young people have people that they look up to, whether it is their parents, whether it's siblings, whether it's celebrities, and they look at it from the outside or from Facebook, and they think, oh, these people have it all together and they've never struggled, and I'm going through all these struggles, and how do I deal with these struggles when some of these people seem like they never do? And we all have things, and we all have struggles. And I think it's really interesting that there is a campaign out there that says, you know, you are a role model, whether you're an NBA athlete, whether you're a superstar, whether you're a rock star, whatever it is, and you have an obligation to give back and to be a real, true role model, which doesn't mean just look at me, I'm great. It's what have I done? What have I worked for? What did I feel like? What have I gone through? What are the emotional struggles that I've had? And so I think that it's one of the things that we work very hard on in this district, and we've put more and more money into it when it comes to mental health and support and counselors of our students. And just if there's any student out there that is struggling and thinks that everybody else has it together and they don't, I'm here to tell you, none of us do. And we're all working on it, and that there are people that are there to help you do that. So that was just something that really struck me that I really wanted to convey out there. And then also, Dr. Pulver, I really left the board meeting last time, and I was just so mad at myself because I talked about Irma Austin and her celebration of life, and what I didn't say was what an incredible job you did as a speaker. And you were incredibly heartfelt, and you just tied it all together. And please forgive me for not doing it last time, but I do want to say thank you very much for representing all of us that well. And then I did attend last night in the evening with Dr. Kropp, and it was absolutely and utterly a pleasure, and you did a phenomenal job with your speech. And even though you were not quick, you were all those other things.
Yeah.
And we did very, very much appreciate it, and just so incredibly proud. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I too attended last night, and there were three things that I found particularly moving and fun. One is the turnout for Dr. Kropp, and not just folks from our district, but folks that aren't part of our district. So Fountain Valley was in the house, and Mark Johnson, and former Superintendent Carol Hart, and that was really cool to see. And then getting to meet some of Dr. Kropp's friends that I hadn't met before, that was really fun too, and I really enjoyed that. And then I got to see just a little slice of Dr. Kropp that I hadn't seen before, and that's her a little nervous. So I had the privilege, of course, of escorting her up on the stage before she gave her speech. I've never seen her nervous before, and she was actually nervous, and that was really cute. So that was fun. I mentioned in my president's report the military academy night that was held here, and that was super cool. PTA awards that I went to, and that was a lot of fun. It's just amazing the work that those kids do, and the 4.0s and the various awards that are there. So I very much enjoyed that. Los Al Chamber meeting, where Tony Rakakis, the Orange County District Attorney, gave a presentation about some of the efforts that are ongoing in Orange County, homeless and gang activity and so forth. And I've met Mr. Rakakis multiple times, and I've even heard him talk. And I saw a side of him I hadn't seen before. And he's got a funny, sarcastic sense of humor, and he surrounds himself with really good people. And I was impressed with him there in a way that I hadn't been before. And then I attended the Rossmore Festival. And the highlight for me there was, first of all, one of our own, Camille Bissell from McAuliffe, sang the national anthem a cappella. And her parents are out of town. They're in Mexico on vacation or something. And so her older brother was there sort of as her chaperone. And it was so cute to see her brother so proud of her sister. And of course, I walked over and said hello, and she's very humble, and she's just got such a gorgeous voice, and that was a lot of fun. And then there were two celebrities there. Abe Lincoln was there for a couple hours, and that was a lot of fun. And the cool thing about Abe is he had little pennies, and of course Abe Lincoln is on the penny, and so he kind of, with the kids, would use like a penny as his business card. He said, "Here, let me give you my business card." And the kids would look at the penny and be all surprised. And then Elvis was there too, and Elvis performed for a while. And what was amazing is, as I'm talking to a lot of folks that are there are some people that specifically come to the Rossmore Festival just to hear Elvis sing. They otherwise wouldn't show up. They're like Elvis groupies. And of course, there are a lot of people that are Elvis impersonators, but this particular Elvis impersonator, I guess, is pretty good. And they kind of go in local Southern California area where this Elvis guy shows up and like, hey, are you from around here? No. What are you doing here? We came to hear Elvis. I'm like, oh, okay, that was kind of cool. So Elvis put on quite a performance. So that's all I got. We will see you next time in a few weeks, and I will move to end this joyous meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?